All right, thank you guys. Welcome to some Pac-12 action here for college football week 11. Of course, my name is Brock Page, and I really appreciate you joining me here today. So great to see you. And with that, let's go ahead and begin. And we're going to take a look at Colorado State taking on Stanford, and that's going to be a 3:30 p.m. Eastern start time. The Stanford Cardinal is -7, totals 54 flat. We're 3-1 in our last 4 extra daily picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to unlock today's extra daily pick on patreon.com/BrockPage, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. We're also 6-3 in our last 9 daily best plays on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to unlock the daily best play, that's only going to cost you just $1.99. We currently have over 675 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And when it comes to this Colorado-Stanford matchup, the Colorado Buffaloes are +210 for some money line cash. Now, the Buffaloes took care of UCLA in their season opener. They actually dropped 48 points on the Bruins. They looked very efficient offensively. Running back Jarek Broussard carried it 31 times for $187 and 3 scores in that one. Broussard averaged 6 yards a carry. Now, Colorado was able to gain 264 yards on the ground in the opener, and they scored 5 rushing touchdowns. Meanwhile, defensively, Colorado had 4 takeaways against the UCLA Bruins. Safety Darian Rakestraw led the defense with 6 total tackles along with a forced fumble and a fumble recovery. Now they're taking on a Stanford program who really struggled to put points up on the board last week. They lost 35-14 to Oregon in their opener, and the Cardinal had scored just 7 total points all game heading into the final 15 minutes of that one. So certainly a struggling effort on the offensive side of things. Meanwhile, on the defensive side, the Cardinal got to the quarterback 0 times in their opener. No sacks against the Oregon Ducks. Not a whole lot of pressure. No real big threat on the quarterback. Stanford's failed to cover the point spread in 5 out of their last 6 contests. And when it comes to the total in this one, 4 out of Stanford's last 5 home games got over the posted number. Meanwhile, Colorado's season opener flew 34 points above the posted total for that game. I'm going to lean toward an underdog to start off the show here. Give me the underdog Colorado Buffaloes +7 and the over 56.5 in that game. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the video. Got some lines and personal leans out for college football week 11, the Pac-12 edition. But before we go ahead and dive into some more free content right here on YouTube, just got to quickly remind you once again that we are 3-1 in our last 4 extra daily picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to unlock today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. We're also 6-3 in our last 9 daily best plays on that site as well. And if you want to unlock today's daily best play, that's only going to cost you just $1.99. We currently have over 675 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, I'd love to have you. I'd be more than happy to have you as a member on that website. And link for that site is in the description section below. Once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And moving on, we're going to take a look at USC, Arizona. And that's going to be a 3:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff in the desert. The Trojans of USC, they are the 14-point favorite on the road, total 67.5. Now, USC is 1-0 on this season. They won their season opener, and that was a 1-point thriller over Arizona State. The Trojan offense exploded for over 550 yards and 4 touchdowns. Quarterback Keaton Slovis completed 73% of his passes in that game for 381 yards and 2 touchdowns. He actually had 2 receivers with 100-yard games. Drake London caught 8 balls for $125 and a touchdown. He averaged nearly 17 yards of reception. And Amon-Ra St. Brown had 7 grabs for 100 yards himself, 14 yards a carry for St. Brown. This Trojan rushing attack also gained 175 yards on the ground this past week, and they scored twice. Meanwhile, defensively, this USC defense held Arizona State to under 135 yards passing through the air. Safety Talanoa Hufanga had 10 tackles and a forced fumble. USC's won their last 7 straight games against the Arizona Wildcats, and they've also won 6 out of their last 7 conference games. Now, the Wildcats on the other side are playing their first game of the 2020 season. They finished their 2019 campaign on a 7-game losing streak. Now, the Cats have failed to cover the point spread in 6 out of their last 7 against a Pac-12 opponent. And when it comes to the total in this one, I'm really not so sure this Arizona offense will be able to put up enough points to kind of propel this one over the line. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the USC Trojans minus 14 and the under 67.5 in that contest. All right, next matchup, it is going to be Oregon taking on Washington State, and that's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern start time. The Oregon Ducks are the 10-point favorite on the road, totals 58. If you like the Cougars in an upset at home, they're plus 280 for an upset win. Now, Wazoo put up 38 points against Oregon State in their 2020 opener. That was a double-digit victory where they held the Beavers to just 7 first-half points. This Wazoo defense also had 4 sacks on the afternoon. Edge rusher Ron Stone had 1.5 sacks on the day, 1 forced fumble, and a trio of tackles for him. And speaking of tackles, Hector, Jackson, and Hicks each had 7 tackles apiece on the day as well. Meanwhile, offensively on the other side of the ball, the Cougars were able to grind out nearly 230 yards on the ground last Saturday. Really efficient running the ball. Running back Deion McIntosh had 18 touches for $147 and a touchdown. McIntosh averaged 8.2 yards a carry. Now, this Cougar rushing attack scored 3 touchdowns on the ground for the game as well. They're taking on an Oregon squad who's very good themselves, very good football team, disciplined, but they did allow nearly 200 yards on the ground in their opener themselves, so they are susceptible to the run. The Oregon defense also gave up nearly 8 yards per play. Now, the Ducks have failed to cover the number in 6 out of their last 7 meetings with Washington State. So if you're into historical trends, you know that Washington does have the ability to keep this series close. And when it comes to the number in this one, both schools saw their opener get over the posted total. Wazoo's 5-1 to the over in their last 6 conference ball games. I'm going to lean toward another underdog in this one. Give me the underdog Washington State Cougars plus 10 and the over 58 in that matchup. All right, next contest, it is going to be the Cal Golden Bears versus Arizona State, 10:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. The ASU Sun Devils are minus 3 at home, totals 47. The Cal Golden Bears are plus $1.50 for an upset win on the road. Cal's playing its first game of the 2020 season. They failed to cover the number in 4 out of their last 5 meetings against the Sun Devils. And speaking of ASU, they successfully covered the point spread in their opener against USC. They were actually catching 12 points. They were the 12-point underdog, and they nearly pulled off the outright victory. And as a matter of fact, Arizona State had a double-digit lead over USC heading into the fourth quarter of that ball game. Really should have been able to pull it off. But regardless, having said that, they still played a really good game. Really nice, strong effort out of Arizona State in their opener. 258 rushing yards for the Sun Devils in that contest. Quarterback Jaden Daniels counted for most of those rushing yards. He actually carried it 11 times for 111 yards. Freshman running back Diamante Traynham touched it 12 times for 84 yards and a couple of scores himself. Traynham actually averaged 7 yards a carry when he got the rock, and running back Rashad White also carried it 12 times and averaged 6.3 yards a carry himself. So once again, Arizona State, very good running the football, at least in their opener. Meanwhile, this Sun Devil defense on the other side of the ball, they had 3 sacks in their opener. and they forced 4 turnovers. Defensive back Evan Fields had 2 forced fumbles, 1 PBU, and 17 total tackles on the afternoon. Linebacker Merlin Robertson also had double-digit tackles along with an interception and a fumble recovery. The Sun Devils have won 7 out of their last 8 at home. They've also successfully covered the number in 6 out of their last 9, hosting the Golden Bears. Give me the Arizona State Sun Devils -3 and the under 47 in that ball game. All right, next matchup, it is going to be Utah taking on UCLA, 10:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. The Utes are the 3-point favorite on the road, totals 59.5. The Bruins of UCLA are plus $1.35 on the money line. Now, the Bruins gave up 48 total points in their opener against Colorado. This Bruin defense allowed over 260 yards on the ground. And as a matter of fact, UCLA gave up 35 first-half points to really kind of dig themselves deep into a hole early. Certainly don't want to do that. Never want to give up 35 points in a game, let alone a half. So really just not a great job defensively in the opening 30 minutes of that contest. Now, the Bruins got to the quarterback just once in their opener, and they failed to force a turnover all game. So really not all that opportunistic defensively, really keeping their offense off of the field. They're taking on a solid Utah program who's playing their first game of the 2020 season. They went 80% against the spread in their final 10 games of 2019, and they've successfully covered the number in 5 out of their last 6 meetings with UCLA. Plenty of opportunity to score a bunch of points here. I like the Utah Utes -3 and the over 59.5 in that contest. All right, next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Oregon State, Washington, 11 p.m. Eastern kickoff in the Evergreen State, I believe. I believe Washington's the Evergreen State. But anyway, the Washington Huskies are -13.5, totals 52 and a hook. The Beavers of Oregon State are plus 375 for an outright victory. Now, the Beavers started off their 2020 campaign with a loss to Washington State. Having said that, though, this Oregon State offense certainly had no problems moving the football. Quarterback Tristan Gebbia completed 71% of his passes for 329 yards. He had 5 different skill players with over 50 yards receiving, which can be terribly problematic for opposing defenses to game plan for, let alone defend. Now, running back Jamar Jefferson also had a heck of a day rushing the football. 21 carries, 120 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Jefferson averaged nearly 6 yards a carry. The Beavers have been really good covering the number on the road. They've been a great road covering team over the past year or so. 6-0 against the spread in their last 6 when traveling. Now, the Beavers have also successfully covered the number in 9 out of their last 12. So if you're into historical trends, that could potentially put your mind at ease. But with all that said and done, I like the Beavers to keep this one close here. Give me Oregon State plus 13.5 and the over 52 and a hook in that ball game. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind, we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Thursday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.